Keynes enjoyed a degree of fame as an economist which can hardly be exaggerated. And it came to him quite suddenly and relatively young. It was when he published his book, The Economic Consequences of the Peace, just before Christmas 1919, denouncing the terms of the Versailles Peace Treaty that the victorious Allies under Woodrow Wilson for the United States, Lloyd George for the British, Clemenceau for the French had shackled upon the Germans, a system which Keynes denounced very eloquently, cogently, in a slim volume, which was a very considerable success in his own country, in Britain. It sold about 20,000 copies within a few months, very good going. But even more so, it was a bestseller in the United States. It sold about 70,000 copies within a few months of its publication in the United States. It had full-page review in the New York Times, denouncing it as mischievous, but showing that this was a man you could not ignore. Now, the importance is, I think, that Keynes was already a name, already a public figure, by the time he became involved in the central arguments about the economy and about unemployment as events unfolded in the 1920s, 1930s. He was already taken notice of here. He had a platform for the sort of unemployment proposals that he produced from as early as 1924 onwards in a British context, because the British context was that of mass unemployment at a time when the American economy was still booming. But faced with unemployment in his own country, Keynes said, we can't tolerate this, we must reach for a drastic remedy, as he called it, in this situation. And he justified what he was doing by saying that this was the course of common sense, that it was a pragmatic response to a crisis that couldn't responsibly be left to go on unraveling. And he refused to accept the conventional wisdom of economics at the time, that in the long run the market would sort all of this out. He produced one of his most famous phrases, of course. He said, maybe this is true in the long run, but in the long run we are all dead. Meaning by that, not, as he's been misrepresented for 3/4 of a century, that we can ignore the long run, that we can just operate in terms of short-termism and in a feckless way here. Keynes's argument was really the other way around, that it's irresponsible simply to sit back and do nothing under those conditions. So he's advocating here in policy terms second-best solutions. Government intervention is a second-best solution. It's not his preferred solution. He's not a socialist. Budget deficits are not a good thing. They're to be avoided whenever possible, but maybe they should be tolerated sometimes as a second-best option, likewise. In short, I'll make a distinction between what I call pragmatic Keynesianism, meaning these practical policy issues, and dogmatic Keynesianism, meaning issues of economic theory, about which I'll say a bit later on.